Hi everyone, hope you're all well. My name is Tugce Ozpamukcu and I work at Stanko Schools in Gaziantep as an English teacher. And today I will be presenting you the best 2.0 tools and apps in foreign language lessons. I hope that you will all find it beneficial for your courses. Okay, without further delay, I want to move on with my presentation. And I will do my best to just limit myself with 40 minutes. It's a very hard task to share a lot of apps with the activities that I will just propose, but I'll do my best. Okay, so I want to start with being an online teacher in the pandemic. Of course, lots of people around us have different perspective towards being a teacher. For example, our friends and the society thinks that we're just sleeping and it's a very easy task to be a teacher, especially you're at home in the pandemic. It must be super easy for them. And our parents think that they have an idealistic picture in their mind and they think that we're all the best ones. And our bosses think that we're just using our imagination and everything is going so smooth and well in class. And what do we think about ourselves? Of course, we're multitaskers. We think that we are trying to just do all the stuff that we're supposed to do. We're multitaskers. So the question is, what do we do really? Actually, we do magic. All we do is magic in class, right? It is very hard to be an online teacher during these days. Okay, it is hard because the target audience is Generation Alpha. They're decision makers. So they've got various options in front of them and they're there to make the decision. So their most powerful tool is using technology. So brilliantly, right? So we should be, as teachers, we should be more competent in using technology, right? When compared to them. So we shouldn't also forget 21st century skills while using technology. So it is not only to integrate technology, but also it is really important to focus on 21st century skills such as creativity, collaboration. So while just designing our examinations, we have to just ask critical thinking questions, right? Open-ended questions, which would boost their creativity, and they should just use their imagination, right? It shouldn't be memorization all the time. So they've got the wit, the passion, the faith, and self-esteem. We should just encourage them to show them. So this digital citizenship is another very important 21st century skills, and the pandemic especially. So they, as I said before, Generation Alpha is marvelous at using technology, but can they use it securely, or do they use it in a very proper way? So we should just teach them how to use technology properly, and also we should be more knowledgeable about the uses of technology. So when I make this presentation, lots of teachers are a bit anxious about my aim because they think that I'm going to just introduce apps as a kind of advertisement, but it won't be an advertisement, believe me, because I'm against using technology excessively. So here in this picture, whenever I look at this picture, I feel really upset. I can even see that by looking at my own kid, my daughter. I mean, whenever she sees me with a phone in my hand, she just takes the other phone in the house and imitates it. So in the pandemic, we teachers are very into technology and we have to use our mobile phones, laptops all the time. So whatever they see will be a kind of role model in their eyes. So that's why we shouldn't forget that. Using technology so much excessively is not a good thing. I tried it once in my class and it was a disastrous thing. So I started with a brainstorming app, then I went on with vocabulary app, then I assessed the knowledge of my students with a kind of quiz, and I ended the lesson with an emoji one. Okay, so it was disaster. I wasn't expecting this, but I found that I, as a teacher, and my students got really bored of excessively using technology. They feel overwhelmed, but this wasn't my aim. I just imagined my class as a kind of class which is so relaxed at the end, but actually what happened is a very overwhelming result. So we shouldn't forget that there must be toys, there must be the actual colors and the actual books out there. It shouldn't be only ebooks that they are flipping through. That's why technology adaptation within the limits is very important. So today, all I'm going to do is to share the best ones according to my experience. And you can just think about your audience, how old they are, how old are they, and what is the purpose. So are you going to assess something? Are you going to make a brainstorming for a special purpose? So just design a course according to your target audience and your purpose and teaching. Okay, so we may start with the first one, which is called as Lino. Linoed is an online web sticky note, which is very similar to Padlet, but the difference is Lino is a free app. Okay, so what did I do with Linoed? So it's very easy to use. I used it with MUN courses. So what you have to do is, what you can do is to drag one of the stickers out there. You just write your note here. You can change the color of the sticker or change the color of what you're writing, and all you have to do is to post. You don't only post some sentences or vocabulary on this e-wall, but you can also upload pictures or you can upload videos. Sorry. You can upload videos by writing, copying and pasting the URL here and saying post. So it becomes a kind of revision tool. It becomes a kind of tool of brainstorming in one sense. Students can post pictures, videos, or their ideas about the topic that you introduced. And is it the only thing that we can do? Of course not. I use it as a kind of grammar tool, grammar revision tool, peer editing tool. And it's a marvelous activity. I really want all of you to try it once in your lessons. It can be in online lessons, it can be in face-to-face lessons. It doesn't matter. It really works well on both conditions. So I ask my students to write one gerund, one infinitive sentence after teaching them that. And they come to the board and write those sentences. So at the end of a session, I can see 50 sentences on the board if I have got 25 students there and each of them are writing like 2 sentences. So what we do next is peer editing. So we said that according to 21st century skills, it is very important to be in collaboration. So peer editing is a very marvelous activity in that sense. Students don't feel offended because they're not corrected by the teacher, and they're corrected by their friends, and it is marvelous. So here is another picture that I took from my own class. And the next one is Padlet. Actually, the activities that I will just share with you here, 12 activities, can be used both for Lino and Padlet and for all the evil websites. So the first one is live question bank. So all I do with this activity is that I ask my students to write questions throughout the lessons. So I, for example, introduce gerunds and infinitives or a theme such as sports, and we deal with vocabulary and so and so. And I ask my students to use that canvas that I prepared for them, and I shared the link beforehand. And they add some questions. If they didn't understand anything, they ask some questions. And at the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I check out the questions and I go over those points that are misunderstood or the points that my students couldn't get easily. Okay, so the second one, exit ticket Padlet, and this is what I use daily nearly because I don't want my students to leave class like that in a very cliche-like leaving. I ask my students to write one thing that they learned during the lesson and leave like that. So I read all of the sentence and I say, Aisha, you can just leave right now. Thank you for your participation. And it's both a kind of feedback for me. Did I teach it properly? Did they understand, receive the information easily? And it is marvelous. Try it, please. An icebreaker, like through 2 truths, one lie. On the first day of school, you can just use it. And end of school year, and whenever your students feel demotivated, you can just use this one, give a compliment. I ask all of my students to write one compliment for one of the students out there. And if one of the students didn't receive any kind of compliment, I, as a teacher, anonymously write a compliment for them at that moment so nobody feels offended. And book discussions, we foreign language teachers teach also readers. We read readers in class, and sometimes they read at home and we just have book discussions in class. And in order not to do a kind of boring session of book discussion, you may just jazz up your classroom with technology by adding a picture, maybe sometimes the cover of your book, sometimes a picture of one of the characters, or even a kind of quotation of a kind of character, right? I can just start a kind of discussion by writing it silently. And analyze a code. Sometimes when my students get bored, I find an enjoyable quotation of a well-known person, of a quote of a well-known person, and we just analyze it together. 5-minute speaking activity. And prior knowledge, I really find it beneficial for my classes. Before I teach a grammar point or any point that I teach, I ask my students to share what do they know about that point. So what is in their pocket? So they just write it, and sometimes I say, okay, that's marvelous, you know the issue actually. So I'll just go over it. So I just encourage them. And classroom newsletter, sometimes the school administration wants this to happen. That's why you may just prepare a kind of classroom newsletter by just adding some activity pictures that are taken from your online classes, from your face-to-face classes, and some reviews of your students, and some important details about your lessons. So it can become a kind of newsletter, an online newsletter. And note taking, we teachers feel, how can I say, helpless sometimes when it comes to speaking about an article and a video with our students, because they lack the skill of note taking. So when they just start university, they understand the importance of note taking, but it becomes too late for them. We also experience the same thing. So it is very important to teach them note taking skills. So I ask my students to write down the most essential points. Whenever I teach them something, I ask them to write down the most important details about that course on that canvas. And at the end of the lesson, it becomes a kind of cheat sheet for them. It's a kind of revision sheet for them. And before the examination, I send them this link, and it becomes a kind of revision tool. And free time funny videos, sometimes I assign it as homework. I add a video. It can be a commercial, a funny commercial, or a kind of part from a movie. It doesn't matter, a trailer of a movie. I want it to just be funny because it's not a formal homework for me. So I add that video on the canvas, and I send the link to my students. So they add their comments, they analyze the my students are high school students, so that's why we may just do high level discussions with them. We may just analyze advertisements, and you can use different kinds of videos with your kids too on different topics. So you can just do it in class or assign it as homework and complete the story. You may just put a picture out there or write a sentence out there, and each student may just add one sticker, one sentence to the story. It may become a kind of chain story of your class. And image-based brainstorming, which is a very cliche-like thing, but it really works before introducing a theme. For example, if your team is technology, you may just put a kind of meaningful picture out there, and you can just ask your students to write some sentences, or it can be vocab-based brainstorming. Okay, and in Padlet, the difference is it is paid, but it has different versions. I mean, the format can be different. It can be canvas, stream, grid, wall, shelf, back channel, map, timeline. So we've got a variety of options, but you can only prepare 5 free Padlets. And other than that, you have to pay, or you can just use the alternative Lima. Okay, so I spend a lot of time with brainstorming apps. Let's move on with a more game-based thing, like Factile, which is a Jeopardy game. I really use it as a kind of revision tool at the end of a grammar session, for example, or before the exams. I do it a lot. I choose my team captains, and they're in group of 2, 3, 4, according to the population of the classroom, and I give names to the categories like vocabulary, reader, grammar, and the grammar's name is like gerunds and infinitives, and rewrite, word formation, random. So these kind of category names can be given, and according to the difficulty of the question, you just arrange the points. So 100 points will be, or dollars will be the easiest one, and $500 will be the most difficult one. And you can use the parts buttons here, and you can just arrange the points easily, and it creates a kind of visual stuff in your classroom. It really works well, but the problem is it's a paid one. If you want to just use a free one without visuals, let me warn you about the visuals first. It is not as vivid as this one, but it really works. It's the same thing. The purpose is the same. Jeopardy game. It's jeopardylabs.com. You can just use it too. Here, without paying, you can just prepare 3 different Factile games. Okay, so let's move on with the next one. The next one is Tagul. Actually, if it was a kind of interactive one, I would just start with Tagul because I love introducing myself with word clouds instead of just going into the classroom and saying, hey guys, this year I'm your new English teacher. My name is blah blah. I graduated from this part and my main idea, blah blah. So I hate this thing because this is so boring, right? As a teacher, I get bored while introducing myself. That's why I use keywords and I ask my students to just interpret that visual, which is full of keywords, and make some guessings. And I use it in reading text too. So here is a thing that I mentioned in order to introduce myself. For example, on the first day of school, I asked my students to just make some guessings about my life, and they ask why some of the words are written in a big way. For example, Lia and Tilbe are written here in big font because they're the most important people in my life. One is my daughter, the other is my sister lives in America, and that's why I wrote them many times on that website, and it appeared in a bigger way when compared to the others. So how can I use it in language lessons? Because I think that reading text may become a kind of boring activity sometimes. That's why we may just ask our students to make some guessings about what we're about to read. So I prepare the target vocabulary, I add those things, and it is really easy to use this website. All you have to do is to copy and paste those vocabulary to the website, and it just appears like this. And you just choose the shape, the color out there. You will find it so easy to prepare, I guess, and you can get a screenshot of it, or you can just download it easily, or you can use the interactive version. It just becomes bigger when you just go over one vocabulary in the interactive version. Okay, so you can use it in reading as a kind of prediction tool, as a kind of brainstorming tool, as students get really excited when they make the right guessings. And I say, okay, you're marvelous without reading that text. You achieved so many things. You made the right guessings, I say. So you can use it in that way. The next one is Socrative, which I really like. So Socrative is a kind of formative assessment tool. So it has got 4 different parts: starter quiz, quick question, space race, and exit ticket. Actually, I use it for short pop quizzes in my classroom. Even in the break time, you can just prepare it. It is too easy. So what you have to do is to give a title, then write your answer, choose the correct one, and save it. You've got 3 formats of question. One is multiple choice like this. The other is short question, short answer. The students type it. So spelling becomes really important for vocabulary spelling. You can just practice it with this kind of format of question. And the last one is true false, which can be used for reading activities. So you prepared your quiz, and what you have to do is to ask your students to write Socrative student to a web browser, and they click on the link and they write the room code, which is a permanent fixed code for your quiz. So they are added to your quiz. So you start a quiz, or you can just ask quick questions in the middle of the sentence, or you can just make them play a space race. And the last one is exit ticket, which I really like. So 3 questions in order to exit the class. Okay, so let's look at the space race first. So a space race is something like that. Students are represented by different colors and a spacecraft. And the more they answer the questions correctly, the faster the space race goes, and they reach to the final, and you can just give a kind of gift to the students, and you can give badges as a kind of gift. And here is the last thing that I want to mention about Socrative. It is getting reports. Of course, we're using technology to have fun, but it is not the only purpose. It shouldn't be. So we're doing it for assessment, right? So of course, at the end of the game or at the end of the quiz, we should have the reports to analyze. So you can just download some reports of the performance of your students individually, or question specific as PDF or Excel documents. You can email it to specifically to that student, to yourself, to a parent, or to school administration. So you can analyze questions one by one. What did that student do? As an answer for the first one, number 1 B, and one person said D. So you can analyze the questions, the correctness of it, how much did they learn, and should you go over a specific point, you will just see that the first question was so hard for all of your students. So you would just understand that you have to just go over with on that point with more practice. Okay, let's move on with the next app and web tool that I want to share with you. The next one is Quizlet that I'm in love with. We will use Quizlet and we will just use it in a different app. Okay, I know that it sounds weird, but I will just show it. So Quizlet is a flashcard website and it is totally easy to use. So what you have to do, I want to just show it to you. You just click on create study set and you put your title and the description of it here. And the next one is to write your word here. Choose your language as English or whatever you're teaching, and the target language should be chosen too. So when you write gather, for example, on the other part, in the definition part, you have got variety of options that are provided by the website automatically, that are written previously by other teachers. So it's a collection of definitions. And among them, you can just make a kind of selection and you can add a picture and you just click on create and you're ready. So apart from that, what can you do? You created your set. What will happen next? For example, it was my reader and chapter 7. I prepared some vocabulary for my students and they can practice learn and write and they can practice spelling. You can just practice spelling on pronunciation in class by clicking on these things. They can write it and check their spelling. You as a teacher will find this useful, I guess, the test one. The system automatically prepares you a test by using the vocabulary and definitions that you prepare. So what happens here is that you can have writing questions, matching questions, multiple choice questions, and true false questions. So if you click on print test, you can just print it or you can just save it as a PDF document. And apart from that, we've got options. You can just omit one question type if you don't want. You can just limit the questions and you can just add some images that you added previously to your set. The students may answer with definition or with term. I advise you to use term because it is so hard to write definition correctly, especially if it is online. So this is all about Quizlet. Of course, the students may find it very enjoyable to practice and memorize vocabulary by using games. Here are 3 different games. The first one is matching. So when you click on it, you will see pictures, definitions, and the time is just being assessed here. And you can just match the vocabulary with their definitions. And we've got gravity here. Gravity checks spelling, especially how fast you're in using keyboard. So students may just try it at home. It's not applicable to classroom environment, but we can use this one, and this is super fun, guys. So Quizlet Live is something that happens live. It's a live game, and they're in random teams, for example. And definition and term is selected, and the system gives you the pin code and students may just scan the QR code here. Let me just turn off the music. And by just going into that website and writing that pin code or just by scanning this QR code, students may be a participant in that game. So what happened next? All of them are assigned to a different group, and they're all represented by different animal names. And each team member will have the same definition of that word, but as options, as words, they have different options on their screen. So we are all in the same group, for example, as 4 players. We have the same definition, but our options are different. So one of the team members has the correct answer, and that person must just press the button. If I press the button when there are no correct answers on my phone, the team's points will go back to 0. It's a super fun one. Students love it. So I'm using it at high school level, and students are in love with that. So I'm against memorization, but by using it in context and with these kind of games, I think that we may just create a kind of permanent learning. And Phrase It is the next one. I will go quicker. Sorry for that. I've got limited time. Phrase It is a kind of talking image website for me, and I use it for teaching reported speech and sometimes for speaking activities. When I teach a vocabulary, sometimes I use it. How do I use it? I sometimes use personal photographs, like some pictures that are taken from my daily life. Of course, I got the permission of the teachers here. So all I do is to use this photograph and send it to my students, and I ask them to be imaginative, be creative as much as they can, and add some direct speech sentences. So what happens next? We turn them into indirect speech, reported speech sentences. He said that, she asked blah blah. All right, so we use this kind of structures by using real life photographs. So of course you don't have to use your personal photographs. My students find it really enjoyable, and they're so respectful. That's why I have no worries about that. So you can also upload photo from your device, any photograph that you want. You can use random stock photo, which are also amazing. It's really easy to use. You just drag one of the bubbles presented here and you write whatever you want to write, and you can add drama filter to it, and you just click on the button save. You can just send it to your teacher. You can send it to a parent. You can send it to a kind of student or to WhatsApp group if you're going to just analyze one picture. You can use it for reported speech in terms of grammar. You can use it for any kind of grammar point. Students may use a vocabulary in context, for example, by using an image like this. It's super easy and fun. And I am also in love with this one because this is a storytelling tool, and it's a very important tool because it really boosts the creativity of our students. Sometimes I do 5 minute speaking activity with that. Sometimes I do writing activities and use it as a kind of writing prompt. Okay, so let's just go to that website together. So when you click on knock on that door, it's a virtual door, and you just knock on it, and it takes you to a different location each time you just knock on the door. It works with Google Earth. That's why you may have a variety of options each time you knock on the door. So what happens? You can just move around the place easily, and you can just go downstairs, upstairs. It's a kind of two-floored one. You can just go around the room, and I ask my students, why are you there? You went there with a friend or alone, but why are you there? Why are you in a palace like this? And how do you feel at that moment? Is there anyone around you? What are you going to do here? So these kind of guiding questions encourage our students to talk more, and the results are amazing. I want you to try it, really. And I want to just show it to you. And there is a very amazing music at the background. Okay, so a mystical music in the background. Maybe you can't hear it right now. Sorry for that. I didn't share the audio. Here we're in a swimming pool of dolphins, for example. So you can just go over that place. You can just analyze why this man is doing, what is he doing here, and why are you there? What are they talking about? The faces are blurred for security reasons, of course. And you can just go around this place and analyze the atmosphere. You can just go over adjectives, for example. So it's marvelous. And the next thing that I want to share with you is Blue Cat. So I said that we will use Quizlet later on with another app. And this is a thing that my ninth graders are in love with. You can just create the sets or discover sets that are prepared by teachers beforehand. But I don't really prefer discovering sets here because my book is different, my level is different. The expectations of my students and mine are all different. That's why I create my own sets. And it is really easy to just use it. You can only write multiple choice questions, by the way. You can just limit the time, write your answers, choose the correct one, add an image, and random answer order can be ticked too. And what happens next is, let me show you, 6 different game modes. So I tried them all, but my students, especially ninth graders, are in love with Gold Quest. So what happens in Gold Quest? After you give the answer to that question, to that multiple choice question, the students are given 3 different chests, and they choose one of them. And according to their chests commands, they do those commands. So sometimes they are asked to just answer another question. Sometimes they steal some coins that are collected by other team members, other members of the class. So it is really enjoyable to see them stealing golds from each other, which creates a kind of enthusiasm and excitement in the story, in the lesson, sorry. So I really want you to just try Gold Quest. And racing is also very easy to use and very enjoyable in class. And Quizlet, I mentioned, you can just go in a Quizlet set that you prepared and click on these three dotted parts, and it's the setting part. Actually, you will just choose export out there, and it gives you a kind of link, a permanent link, and you will just go to Blue Cat website, and it will ask you, are you going to prepare something new, or are you going to import from Quizlet? So you will choose import from Quizlet, and it really gives you an area on which you will just copy and paste the link that you got from Quizlet, and you're done. You just click on this button, create your set, and it creates the options according to the words that you prepared from Quizlet. And you can choose the game mode, as I said before, out of 6, and it becomes a marvelous game environment in class. It is so enjoyable. Okay, so the next one is Answer Garden. I really love this one because it's a very easy to use, user-friendly tool of brainstorming. I do introductions to my classes. For example, if I'm going to teach something about technology, or if I'm going to ask a question as a kind of introductory question to my students, I use this website. I type my question out here, or any topic like technology, or what are the advantages of technology, or what are some devices that you use a lot in terms of technological devices. So I ask my question or topic here, write my topic here, and all of my students answer it word-based. This is important. It's not like EVOs that I introduced firstly. They can't write sentences. They can use minimum 20, sorry, not minimum. They can use 20 to 40 words, letters, and they will just answer it word-based. And I use it for example, readers. I ask them to summarize the chapter with keywords, so they write the keywords of that chapter. Or after reading a kind of article from our students book, I ask them to summarize the key points with keywords, and they write keywords. Oh, it's written Instagram. Yes, we read a sentence about Instagram, and it said what? And I ask some questions, and I use it as a kind of prompt for speaking to. Okay, so the next one is iFake text message. We said that they're excellent in using mobile phones and technological stuff, so they really love this one too. I create a kind of dialogue first and give it to them, and I ask them to continue with the rest of the message. So it can be used as a kind of storytelling tool, as a kind of writing prompt. So when we say writing prompt, we expect our teachers to just provide us with pictures or sentences or quotations as the beginning of the story. But actually, this is a wrong idea for me. We can be more creative, and we can use this kind of prompts too, which are prepared by the teacher. So students can go on with the messages, and they can just write the names, arrange the name, the message color, and the battery level shown in percentage, or they can even choose the signal strength and the network, which becomes a kind of realistic thing actually. And for it is not only for storytelling, but also sometimes I teach grammar or vocabulary, and I ask my students to use it in context. We teachers ask them to write dialogues all the time, right? To illustrate the kind of, to practice a grammar point or a kind of vocabulary. So teaching in context is a very important thing. You can provide that context with a message like this using that target vocabulary and grammar, or you can give it as homework. You can just use your classroom time and ask your students to just write it, use it in context with a dialogue. Okay, so I will be quicker because it's the last 5 minutes, I guess. Word wall, if you're not using anything in your classes in terms of technology, you should use word wall, but it is a paid one. You have to pay 20 Turkish liras per month, but it really worth it. If you don't want to pay, you can just delete the things that you do all the time, which is an upsetting thing. So you've got 5 different activities as a free one. You've got a variety of choices, which is marvelous. So for example, at the end of the lesson, I can just prepare a kind of quiz for my students. I can assess their knowledge about the topic that I just taught them. And random wheel can be used like you can write the student's name out there if they're hesitant in participation. You can just encourage them by just using that wheel of names. And there are many different websites that you can use, but this is an all-in-one website. That's why not using this one? And you can just use the open the box one for speaking activities. I write them, and sometimes before the exams I usually use it. Sometimes I add vocabulary questions in it, sometimes speaking, sometimes grammar as a kind of revision one. And you can use true false questions for reading. After reading the text, you can just use true false. Random cards are best, especially when you do speaking lessons. You write amazing questions on it, and when you just click on it, it just changes, and it creates a great visual. So you can just analyze the website in your free time. It is marvelous. I really advise you to use it. A formal quiz platform is called as Quizflight. In the online process, we high school teachers especially were in search of a formal thing. So when we use Kahoot, it's like a game. When you use Socrative, it is formal, but it is a game like thing. But Quizflight is a formal quiz platform. It is so easy to use. You just write your question in different formats like this. You can arrange the timing. You can just give a time to it up till 120 minutes, which is a very good thing for us. And you can just protect it with a kind of password, which would be beneficial for students who are early starters. You can just avoid this thing. And the next thing is storyboard that I really love it. I teach readers all the time, each week to different levels, and especially for ninth graders. And it can be used for primary kids, for secondary school easily. You can just use this website. It's amazing. I'm running out of time, but I can't really finish this one without showing you a storyboard that you just create a storyboard like this. So you've got the atmosphere choices here, um, like this. You drag it and you can have variety of options of different places. Characters are dragged to the here, and you can just edit the pose. You can use something like this. You can just add expressions, and they're pre-prepared expressions like this. You can change the color of hair, the eyes, the skin, and you can just use back, front, right, left positions and update pose, and here you go. And you can just add speech bubbles to it, shapes, infographics, and you can upload your own picture and edit here. And you can use it as a kind of summary sheet for your students. Students may prepare it after each chapter. You may prepare it as a kind of revision thing and send it to them before lessons, before exams, sorry. Or you can just ask your students to use a vocabulary in context, my speech bubbles, and they can use a specific grammar point to like this. So this is all about that. Now I want to just go back to the Prezi one. I lost the track of the presentation, so sorry for that. In seconds, I will have an access to it. So I will just finish this presentation with the last thing. So this is emoji prompts. I use emojis even in high school. It's really enjoyable for storytelling. For example, I start with a single emoji. She was just playing guitar like crazy that day was my first sentence. I, as a teacher, may start it. And the second emoji comes, and the next student must just go in with the story in a very creative way. So each time you just press on this button, you receive a different emoji, and it just goes on like this. It becomes a kind of emoji-based change story, and it is so enjoyable. All right, so I want to just finish my presentation right now. I'm out of time. I want to just finish it with the contact details of mine very quickly. So I use PLN, Personal Learning Network, on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. You can just follow me from Twitter. I will be really happy to be in contact with you. Tugce Edu is my username. You can just have a look at it, analyze it. I'm not recently using it, but I am more into Instagram nowadays. I share a lot of stuff, lots of activities. I propose lots of activities for teachers like me. I love being in collaboration with you all. So please follow me. I will be really happy to just get your feedback from DM, from my email. I will be totally happy for that. And apart from that, I want to just give you the contact details here separately. This is my email. If you've got any questions, if you want anything from me, you can just ask and I will be willing to help you. And if you can email me with a kind of comment of your idea, of your criticism, I will send you the link of all the things that I covered here. And as a plus to that, I will provide you with different links and tools and apps that would give the best results in foreign language teaching lessons. And I hope that you will like it. All right, so it was an honor for me to be in contact with you with this video. And please don't forget to follow me from Twitter and from that Instagram account. I really want to just be in contact with you later on in different platforms. Thank you so much. Take care.